Was Jesus God? A good question, I feel. I personally believe that Jesus was God, but I did some research into it and I wanted to kind of list the evidence towards it in Scripture. So, in John 8:58, Jesus makes an I am statement. He says, I tell you the truth, Jesus answered, before Abraham was born, I am. Verse 59, at this they picked up stones to stone him, but Jesus hid himself, slipping away from the temple grounds. So, in this, Jesus is talking with the Jews at the time, and he makes an I am statement. An I am statement is something you do not do in the Jewish culture at the time, because if you do that, you are leveling yourself with God. This goes to Exodus 3:14 and Leviticus 24:16. So, first, 3:14. God said to Moses, I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you. So, Jesus saying that before Abraham was born, I am, in that grammar, it's kind of weird in English. In Greek and Hebrew, it's a little better. It makes sense. He is basically putting himself on the level of God. He is calling himself God. And the reason why the Jews picked up stones to stone him was because of this. Because Leviticus 24:16 says, anyone who blasphemes the name of the Lord must be put to death. The entire assembly must stone him. Whether an alien or native born, when he blasphemed the name, he must be put to death. So they were following this because he made an I am statement, but Jesus got away. That's the first reason. Second one, the word became flesh. John 1:1, or John 1:14. And the word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we have seen his glory, glory as of the only Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. So, the word became flesh and dwelt among us. What does John 1:1 say? In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So that means the word became flesh and dwelt among them. Jesus did just this. That means Jesus is the Word, and the Word was God. So that makes Jesus God. Another point is that Jesus does not deny the act of people worshiping him. He accepts it. Two examples. Doubting Thomas. Thomas answered him, my Lord and my God, in John 20:28. The context is that Thomas was doubting that Jesus had actually rose from the dead. He was one of the 12 disciples. So he said, unless I put my fingers in the holes of his hand and put my finger in his side, will I believe? So Jesus appears to him, says, Thomas, here I am. And then Thomas does that. He puts his finger in the hole of his hand and puts it in his side. And he says, my Lord and my God. He worships him. And then Jesus says, blessed are those, you have seen and believed, blessed are those who do not see and still believe. So, in 20:29. Jesus calms the storm, a second point. And walking on the water, first of all, Jesus calming the storm is something that God does. That is like, that's just evidence towards that. It's that he calmed the storm. Nature obeys the Lord, and he walked on water. And then that goes into Matthew 14:33. So it says, and those in the boat worshipped him, saying, truly you are the Son of God. They worshipped him. The disciples worshipped Jesus and saying, you are the Son of God. The final thing is that Jesus rose from the dead. There's plenty of evidence that he did. And that and Paul even says, if he didn't, we are fools for believing. But he did. And that's a beautiful thing. That goes into how Jesus made multiple claims that he would die and rise from the dead in the book of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, I believe. And then he does it in each and every one. Jesus dying shows that he was fully human, and him rising from the dead shows that he was fully God. There's beauty in it of that self. In him, it's awesome. So, in conclusion, Jesus makes an I am statement in John 8:58 through 59. John 1:1, 14, the word became flesh. Jesus accepts worship, John 20:28 and Matthew 14:13, or Matthew 14:33, and Jesus rises from the dead. That in and of itself provides evidence that Jesus is God.